Your tax guy's getting in on this, yeah.
You used to call me on the cell phone.
Some people dance like this.
Call me on the cell phone.
I swear it's cool to dance like this. Oh yeah.
Tower on the beat.
The video you are about to watch is protected by the Corporation of the United States of America and parent company the District of Columbia's Constitution Bill of Rights Amendment 1, Free Speech and Free Press. We are also protected under the United Nations General Assembly Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People or D.R.I.P. also known as DRIP Articles 14 and 16 Article 14.
Man, I just like to take this time to thank all my new subscribers. Let's see, I got TJ, Wandering Indios, Chris Hill, Ant001, Yazi, Shaki. Thank you, Corey Pettiford, for the comments. True Goku, thanks for joining. All praises to the most higher, definitely. Thank you. Chris Markham, thank you. Taz Baldwin, Frank Watcher, thank you for your comment. Christopher Johnson, and especially thanks to the man who kind of inspired me to do this, Lex Will. Thank you for shouting me out. It's been about a year. It's been a struggle, but I love the fact that I'm small. There's no influences on this channel other than those, that I feel keep it real. Once again, thank you, Marcella B, Yant and your show. Thank you, Sheena Waters, for the comments. Thank you, Katie Coolity. Benny J, thanks for the comments. Of course, Letty Pat, been there since the beginning. Thank you. And thanks to anybody. If I ain't get to you, I'll probably try to get to you another time. Thanks, and I consider my subscribers like not just family, but like colleagues and stuff like that. So if y'all got anything y'all want me to investigate or whatever, let me know. Holla at your boy. It's Action News Network. We all employees here. We all part of it.
Should you desire to learn the greatness and excellency of our exaltedness and of the land subject to our scepter, then hear and believe. I, Prester John, the Lord of Lords, surpass all under heaven in virtue, in riches, and in power. 72 kings pay us tribute. Our land is the home of elephants, dromedaries, camels, crocodiles, Metacolinarum, Cametinus, tensovites, wild asses, white and red lions, white bears, white merles, crickets, griffins, tigers, lamias, hyenas, wild horses, wild oxen, and wild men, men with horns, one-eyed men, men with eyes before and behind, centaurs, fawns, satyrs, pygmies, four-tailed high giants, cyclopses, and similar women. It is the home, too, of the phoenix and of nearly all living animals. Among the heathen flows, through a certain province, the river Indus. Encircling paradise, it spreads its arms in manifold windings through the entire province. Here are found the emeralds, sapphires, carbuncles, topazes, chrysolites, onyxes, beryls, sardius, and other costly stones. Here grows the plant acidus which, when worn by anyone, protects him from the evil spirit, forcing it to state its business and name. Consequently, the foul spirits keep out of the way there. In a certain land subject to us, all kinds of pepper is gathered and is exchanged for corn and bread, leather and cloth. At the foot of Mount Olympus bubbles up a spring which changes its flavor hour by hour, night and day, and the spring is scarcely 3 days' journey from paradise, out of which Adam was driven. If anyone has tasted thrice of the fountain, from that day he will feel no fatigue, but will, as long as he lives, be as a man of 30 years. Here are found the small stones called nudiaci which, if borne about the body, prevent the sight from waxing feeble and restore it where it is lost. The more the stone is looked at, the keener becomes the sight.
Alright, y'all. Who the fuck is Prester John? Who is Prester John? And the quest of the three Indias, alright? There's been a lot of hoopla around Prester John lately. You might have seen on Drop. Lex Will's been going off on it. I didn't want to go into it too much because there's so much people doing it, but it's been capturing my tickling my fancy. So we're gonna go into it. Who is Prester John? Why is he so important in history? And what does he have to do with us? It's Prester John right here. It's one of the images of him. He's always depicted as a Negro mostly. You see, right? Or some kind of Arab. But there's just so many depictions of Prester John. It's ridiculous. All right. He's on maps. Over there in the Abyssinia region, what we know as the Horn of Africa. He's depicted on a whole shitload of maps, a whole crap load of maps. All right. You see him again here. They go to Prest. The Prester is an Ethiopian, not a legend or something. He's written in books. This is an old text with Prester John in it. He's depicted as a Viking almost. Thank you, Marvel. Always, screwing shit up. He's written in books. John Buchan wrote about Prester John, but he makes him a Zulu. This is how ignorant they are. But again, who the F is Prester John, yo? Who is this dude? Why is he so important? Alright? So we got an old Russian depiction of Prester John right here. This is from the steps up there. And this Ethiopian legend is really weird. I can't decipher it. Maybe you might want to pause and look at it, but this is talking about Prester John. Telling this whole story right here. That's him with the knife, like an angel. As you can see, that's how he's depicted. But then you also got white depictions of Prester John, which is weird. This is how they try to screw your history over. You see, he looks like a European. That's not how Prester John is depicted. And how you go from this right here? How you go from this to this? Who is that? So again, where in the world is Prester John, yo? Where in the world? All right, this is from historicalperceptions.com. Prester John, the greatest world myth you probably never heard of. The Prester John myth is probably the greatest myth in history, and it is sad that we don't really remember it. It is a bit like the Atlantis myth, in that it's very old and held on to public imagination. Prester John held the world's imagination for nearly 1,000 years. He was not just a legend, but treated as real, and he had a real impact on real history. Popes talked about Prester John and even wrote to him. The Crusaders reached out to Prester John. Marco Polo wrote about Prester John and finding his kingdom. Henry the Navigator gave instructions to his sailors on what to do if they found him. William Shakespeare wrote about Prester John. The 1507 map that was first labeled the New World as America also marks where the kingdom of Prester John could be found. Alright, he goes on to about his opinion about the most amazing myth, world history for centuries. It's not just a story, it's something people believed and actively was treated as a call to action. Prester John's story caused people to change history, and it all started with a clever forgery. It says here in 1165, a letter by addressed the Byzantine emperor started circling through Europe. It was, the letter claimed, sent from a great priest king in the east, who called himself Prester John. The letter described the fabulous land ruled by John. And we played that earlier. Alright. Alright, this is from Nicholas Kotar, his website, nicolaskotar.com. Fascinating medieval legend of Prester John. It says, did you know that Columbus was looking for a mysterious Christian kingdom of India when he stumbled upon the New World. Most people know he was looking for India. Of course, however, most people don't know why he was looking for the Indies, as in many Indias. In fact, there were 3 possible Indias he could have been looking for. The 3 Indias. The India ruled by this Prester John was a half legendary country. Even its place wasn't clear, and different maps showed it in different places. In medieval Europe, there was as many as 3 Indias. The Prester John, who wrote the letter, claimed to be the ruler of all 3, included the one where the body of Apostle Thomas was buried. During the Tartar-Mongol invasions, new life was breathed into the legend. Right? In the first quarter of the 13th century, rumors abounded of Genghis Khan's many conquests. After the Crusade version of Prester John's letter to Emperor Emmerich, called The Legend of the Indian Kingdom, appeared in Russia in the 13th century. In it, Tsar and priest Ivan is John and Russian Krylik. It's also called a champion of the Orthodox faith in Christ. Interestingly, search for treasures of the Indies was at least partially a search for the kingdom of Prester John. The Portuguese Prince Henry the Navigator traveled to Africa for this reason. In his wake, other Portuguese explorers followed him to Ethiopia, where they did find a Christian kingdom. However, this kingdom paled in comparison to the legend. There were few treasures and even fewer miracles. Last but not least, right here, the Africa, India. Now, having found a legendary kingdom in Asia, Europeans from the end of the 13th century began to seek it in Africa. The third India was supposed to be located there. So in 1321 to 1324, a missionary Dominican named Jordanus de Severac probably, wrote a book called the Mirabilia. In it, he describes for India, which he equated with the Ethiopia of Prester John. Alright, so a few things we gotta look here when it comes to India's. What does India mean? What is India, the name India is given to? What kind of locations? What kind of people live in these locations? And where was far India? And was America considered Indies too? Alright? There's a lot of holes and gaps here that don't make sense, and I gotta make sense of this shit.
In the land of Prester John be many diverse things and many precious stones, so great and so large, that men make of them vessels, as platters, dishes, and cups. And many other marvels be there, that it were too cumbrous and too long to put it in scripture of books, but of the principal isles and of his estate and of his law, I shall tell you some part. And he hath under him 72 provinces, and in every province is a king. And these kings have kings under them, and all be tributaries to Prester John. And he hath in his lordships many great marvels. For in his country is the sea that men clepe the gravelly sea, that is all gravel and sand, without any drop of water, and it ebbeth and floweth in great waves as other seas do, and it is never still ne in peace, in no manner season. And no man may pass that sea by navy, ne by no manner of craft, and therefore may no man know what land is beyond that sea. And albeit that it have no water, yet men find therein and on the banks full good fish of other manner of kind and shape, than men find in any other sea, and they be of right good taste and delicious to man's meat. And a 3 journeys long from that sea be great mountains, out of the which goeth out a great flood that cometh out of paradise. And it is full of precious stones without any drop of water, and it runneth through the desert on that one side, so that it maketh the sea gravelly, and it beareth into that sea, and there attendeth and that flowm runneth, also, 3 days in the week, and bringeth with him great stones and the rocks also therewith, and that great plenty. And anon, as they be entered into the gravelly sea, they be seen no more, but lost forevermore.
It says, through oral tradition, the Christians, I don't have to explain that shit to you. All right. Beta means, like the test. And sometimes the Father Shah, all right, King Menelik, that's a brother right there, Menelik, who ruled, number one, who ruled over Abyssinia in C90 in the century 950 BCE, was one and only son of King Solomon of Israel and the Queen of Sheba. He seduced her while she was visiting his palace, the House of Solomon, as the Ethiopian dynasty became known. Remember, this was a big marriage between Solomon and Israel, who, you should know by now, most likely was here on this continent, the Americas, all right? And the Queen of Sheba, who ruled over Abyssinia, Punt, Kush, whatever you want to call it, now known as Sudan and Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa, that area, all right? The House of Solomon, as the Ethiopian dynasty became known, ruled with few interruptions until 1974. Yes, that's like only, I'm almost 40. That's like almost 50 years ago now. 1974. That's when the House of Solomon was broken up, all right? Only a few years before I was born. One of those interruptions was the invasion by a Queen Gudit in around 960 Common Era. All right, don't mind those dates either. We're going to have to find a new way of reading dates. By that time, some of those Jews have converted to Christianity and set up headquarters in Axum, where life has been relatively peaceful for 600 years. Gudit invaded Axum with a large army, burnt Christian churches and monuments, and did some other damage, and ruled for 40 years. Then she died, and the Christians rose again. There are more legends around Gudit, but as this person who wrote this says, we will not take that detour. All right. The point is that Ethiopia had remained Christian since the first part of the millennium. In spite of several invasion attempts by Muslims over the years, they moved further and further into the mountains for safety. All right. It says the legend, as it was told in the 1100s, placed Prester John on the throne of the kingdom. Prester John came from a large line of holy men. He was the direct descendant of one of the 3 gift-carrying Magi, wise men, priests, kings from the Orient who visited the newly born Jesus in Bethlehem. So supposedly Prester John is like the son of one of them damn 3 holy men, 3 wise men or whatever. Prester John, holiness, gave him the fortitude and wisdom he needed to resist Muslim and Mongolian attempts to conquer his country. That made him a hero indeed. The story of the 3 Magi was especially important to medieval Christians. They professed that the 3 priests, wise men, had been Hindu. They never want to tell you when somebody's either when somebody's like black or something, because they changed the Hindus into amalgamated people. They use the Hindus a lot when they want to talk about and they dominate the conversation when it comes to the Indias. All right, like I was trying to explain before, there are 3 Indias. There's more Indias than that. India just was a land where they found the copper colored people. All right, Ethiopia is where the burnt face people were. You gotta understand the difference between burnt face people and copper colored people. All right, there's a difference between the two. They try to say we're the same, but we're not. All right, the copper colored people are Indians. All right, the burnt face people, that's the descendants of Cham, descendants of Cham, descendants of Ham. The copper colored people were descendants of Shem to the new faith. It was this Hindu factor that connected Prester John to India. Kind of funny because like Christianity is like the least practiced religion in India.
But where is Christianity? What continent is Christianity has taken over completely? You know, completely. 2 continents on 1 hemisphere where Christianity took over completely, without a doubt. It's not Africa. It's not Asia. Definitely not India. It's not Asia. Definitely not China and shit. You know, it's the Americas. You know. So it says church history claimed that Helena of it says Byzantine, but really it's I'm gonna call it Byzantine because I never seen it spelt like that. I don't even know how to pronounce that like that. But we gonna say Helena of Byzantine, centuries 250 to 230 Common Era, the mother of Constantine the Great, arranged for the Magi's bodies to be moved to Byzantine, Constantinople, where they were entombed in the great cathedral of Santa Sophia. Over time, as the center of Christianity moved westward and politics changed, the bones were transported to Milan, Italy, into Cologne, France, when it became the center of the Holy Roman Empire. All right, and that's that weird shit. I grew up Catholic, you know, so I know Catholics are very occult when it comes to Christianity. You know, like we have like in the St. Patrick's Cathedral downtown here in New York City. That's the main cathedral for the Archdiocese of New York, which includes most of Manhattan, I think Staten Island, Manhattan, the Bronx, and Westchester County, New York. All right, that they have like the body of like Pierre, what's his name? Pierre Toussaint, whatever. One of them dudes' names, Toussaint Louverture, I believe, or one of them. Like buried under, like in the church, like entombed. And they got like a couple of older cardinals that was there. They usually are buried in the church and stuff. Like it's you know, they like that kind of crap. I think it gives them some kind of magic powers or some shit. I don't know. But yeah, I know that for sure. As being a Catholic, they like doing that shit. The search for Prester John was not just for spiritual inspiration. Some versions of the myth said that the kingdom was the location of the gates of Alexander, a legendary barrier that Alexander the Great, who we talked about before on previous videos. So, you know, we had a lot of people coming to America looking for the Fountain of Youth. You see how all this ties into each other? You know, all the people who came here and shit, they thought it was like in Florida, so they was all down there in the southeast looking for the damn Fountain of Youth. All right? And they was coming here. They knew directly where they was coming to. You gotta stop letting people fool you and thinking that they didn't know where they was coming to. This place was undiscovered. It's like they knew this place was here, they just couldn't fuck with it. And they waited for a certain kind of events to happen to come jump over here to fuck with it. That's what it seems like happened. Kicking somebody when they down. That's what we say today, right? You kick somebody when they down. You're shiesty. You're kind of like what do you call that shit? Like here it's like being shiesty or whatever. When you wait for somebody's downfall, you pray for somebody's downfall, then you kind of try to take advantage of that and stuff. That's what these people do. They wait for certain events to happen that they have some sort of knowledge of. They distract the rest of the world from that coming event, and then they come and swoop down. All right. So here go Fountain of Youth that ties that back to here in America. Alexander the Great ties it to Tartaria, who we know, and I proved in my videos, you know, had land here in America and over there in what was once known as USSR, the Russian Empire, now the Russian Federation, as you might want to say. So that ties a lot of together. That's what I said. The whole key to this whole story is Tartaria, Prester John, Alexander the Great. You know whose body, you know, who's like, I think they found his tomb is here in America. All right, it ties all this together. So there's no coincidence Tartaria shit is coming out now. All right, even though people like Lex Will's been talking about it for the longest. I think he was talking about this shit like 2 years ago, a year or two ago. You know, before it got popular here, I heard him, you know, drop Tartar down before, and that got me, thinking like a year ago. I'm looking through shit because I love history and looking at maps, finding Tartar on the maps and stuff. So keep that in mind. All right. More rumors claim that the kingdom was full of riches and strange creatures. In 1367, two cartographer brothers or cartographer, however you pronounce it, Domenico and Francesco Pizzigano of Venice drew a world map on which they wrote there was so much gold in the kingdom of Prester John that his subjects used it to tile the roofs of their houses and forge their weapons of war. All right, these people, or whoever Prester John ruled over, these people did not consider gold to be valuable. They did not consider gold and silver to be valuable, not like the Europeans do. All right, so this couldn't have been what we call the old world today, what we know as a new world. That whole Afro-Eurasia, that Africa, Europe, Asia area over there, right? Or Asia Minor, really, right? So if they talk about when they went to go see Prester John, his kingdom was so full of riches and gold and silver and shit. That's not Ethiopia and Africa. That has to be here in America, because we know for sure, documented fact, not just these stories, documented fact that the Indians here, whether it was in Mexico or was it here, did not value gold. Did not value gold and silver. If they was wearing it and one of these Europeans asked them for it, our ancestors gave it off their necks to them like it didn't matter to them, because it didn't. Remember, the currency in America was chocolate. Keep that in mind. They used to forge their weapons out of these things. So this couldn't have been Ethiopia, because Ethiopia has no gold. If Ethiopia had gold today, they wouldn't be looking like that over there. All right. The reason why America is so rich because of the gold that was fucking here. So Prester John was in America. All right. You got in 1165 a letter written supposedly by Prester John reached Byzantine Emperor Manuel the First, communist. 11 centuries, hundreds of versions of this letter still exist, like a snowball increasing in size as it rolls down a mountain. The legend accumulated more fantasies with each handwritten copy. Pope Alexander the third, who we also known as Pope, the Borgia Pope, the Borgia Pope, the one who was sleeping with his daughter and all those other crap, and having all these bastard kids and stuff. The one who was having orgies up in the Vatican or whatever, and killed off all his competition. That Pope Alexander III, Borgia, wrote a response to Prester John in 1177. No one knows if Prester John received this response. All right. 44 years later, in 1221, survivors of the Fifth Crusade brought back news to Western Europe that Prester John's son or grandson, King David of India, and I'm not talking about motherfucking Hindustan, all right? I'm not talking about Hindustan when I say King David of India. When I say King David of India, I'm talking about an India Superior, America, all right? This is America, these Indies, the East Indies, all right? The West Indies, not the East Indies, all right? Had gathered armies to fight the Saracens, conquered Persia, defeat the Seljuk Turks, and was moving against Baghdad, all right, and planned to recomp and rebuild Jerusalem, all right. And again, I just moved from Arizona back to New York. There's a Baghdad in Arizona, all right. Just like Lex Will showed you how all them biblical names are out there in the West. You got Moab, Gilead, you got all these names, Beersheba and shit, all there in Utah, right above Arizona. Arizona got Baghdad, Arizona got the Grand Canyon, but the mysteries that's there. It's a lot of weird shit out there. That whole area feels real spiritual. I love the 2 years I lived out there in the Phoenix metropolitan area. Arizona is very cleansing. The air is very clean. The sun is very radiant. It speaks to you, especially as a melanated person. It speaks to you. It's like God's talking to you directly. A very beautiful place, and the spirit's definitely there. All right, let's keep it moving.
So, as you see, Columbus right here. So, who was Columbus really looking for? Was he looking for India? Was he looking for the Indies? Was he looking for America? I think he was looking for Prester John, yo. Let's keep it real. I think he was looking for Prester John. I think he was traveling to the 3 Indies to find Prester John. Alright? I got another theory on Prester John too. This map shows you 3 Indias in their known world. But really, it's really 2 Indias, with the third one being America. There's Prester John again on the map. But let me show you something. You look at Russia right here, they have all these depictions of black Messiah, black Jesus. All right, some kind of black Messiah figure. Who knows if this is Jesus? I don't know if that's Jesus to them. This could have been somebody else and changed into Jesus. I think that's Prester John. I think Jesus is Prester John. All right, I think Prester John is Jesus. Or they both like fucking, and like I said, it ties back to Tartaria. They both kind of are these mythical figures from this mythical Tartarian, Ethiopian, Indian kind of place and shit. So like I said, all avenues head back to Tartaria. All right. You know what I say? I say when you see a motherfucking KFC, that means niggas ain't too far away. All right. So just keep that in your head. In hindsight, who knows? Yo, I think Prester John is some kind of he could have been a real king, could have been a legend. I don't know, because they screwed up the history so much. I'm just presenting the facts that I have. All right, because knowledge is power. I'm just trying to wake up. I'm trying to wake up all my people. All right, so who knows? We might have to do a part 2 on this. All right, let me know if you find anything else, and stay tuned to Action News Network. There'll probably be a part 2 on this as I dig deeper.